Hey, so this past Sunday, we began what's called in the church world the season of Advent. Now, in the regular world, it's just Christmas season, right? And that all begins usually right after Halloween when they can begin to put all of the Christmas things out. Well, in the church, we talk about this as the season of Advent. And the season of Advent is the season actually of waiting for the coming of the Christ child. And in our particular congregation, as well as I'm sure many other congregations, this season has lots of new decorations, and we put up nativity scenes and wreaths and even Christmas trees, recognizing the special part of this season. There's kind of a crossover, though, between Christmas and Advent, and sometimes what ends up happening is we're so ready for that Christmas day that we forget this whole idea that Advent is about the coming of the Christ child. It's about the anticipation of this journey to Bethlehem, and what happens in Bethlehem is made possible because of the preparation and all that has happened before that. So in this particular season of Advent, for our church, one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about this journey to Bethlehem, and we're going to be physically participating in that. And so what we're doing is we have this little work thing called the Journey to Bethlehem, an Advent pilgrimage for all ages, and we're going to be physically looking at ways we can imagine ourselves as a congregation, as individuals, walking to Bethlehem. And so if you do a Bible study, if you attend worship, if you do some other kind of spiritual activity, or if you physically walk and get on the treadmill or go outside and do your normal walk, you get credit for the steps that you take that move you towards Bethlehem. And the hope is that as a congregation, we'll get all the way to Bethlehem from here in Brighton, all the way back. And it's going to be a fun time to see how these little footsteps that we put up throughout the church make us all the way there and back. But here's the thing. As good and as wonderful as I think this is going to be, and as great as it is for us to be kind of putting ourselves in an active form of participation in this journey, we know that in the end, what we find in Bethlehem and what we experience during this season of Advent is truly what God has been preparing for us from the very beginning. And what we discover is that God meets us in such a unique and special way on Christmas through the person of Jesus that all of us need to anticipate this in our own lives, of how Jesus is manifesting himself, showing himself, revealing himself, becoming real to us in that day. You know, the book of Isaiah is a book where the prophet is talking to a nation that needs to recognize that where they are right now is not always where God planned them to be. And in fact, because of several things that they had done, choices that they had made about the way in which they worshiped, or in most cases didn't worship, the one true God, God was going to be setting them right, and things were going to change for them. And so they were in a season where God's presence wasn't as felt among the people. But God's promise was still always and completely theirs. So Isaiah is filled with these messages of hope, these images that try to say, look, go with me now from where you are to another place that I am making for you, a place that I have had planned for you, a place where my presence is more obvious for you. And one little verse in Isaiah that really stood out to me as I was preparing for this season of Advent was from Isaiah 43, verse 19, where the prophet is saying that God is saying to us, I am about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. I mean, this idea of God making a new thing during this season of Advent, during this time where God is remaking and reforming us into the people that we were always meant to be. This is the new thing that Isaiah makes that promise to the people. These words of God, I'm about to do a new thing. And those places that are often barren and without water, those places are going to be changed. This image of change and new life is what the promise of Isaiah is talking about. So this is going to be our journey. Our journey during this season is going to be imagining the ways in which God is leading us through perhaps some difficult times into a new place, making us and forming us into a new people. And goodness knows we need newness in our world. We need life to be breathed back into our world. And so in this season of Advent, with each step we take, we are remembering that God is preparing us for when God's full revelation becomes known in Jesus Christ.